Hi, it's Nero here from Investment Rise, and as our property boom continues to roll on month after month, many are starting to ask, when will the property boom end? And right on cue, we're starting to see certain banking experts, certain, economic experts come out and give their 2 cents worth about when the property boom will end, and actually even starting to predict when the boom will end. So in this episode, I want to talk about Westpacs' latest predictions about what's going to happen to our property market going forwards, what's going to happen to property prices, and when this property boom will end, and then give you my thoughts on whether I agree or disagree. Now, you might remember that back in 2020, Westpac, along with pretty much all the major lenders, came out and said that they expect property prices to absolutely plummet. 10% minimum price falls were spoken about, with some lenders talking about price falls of 30%. Now, we know nothing like that happened whatsoever. The banks couldn't have got it more wrong. So of course then you might be thinking, well, Nero, if they got it so wrong back then, how can you trust what they have to say right now, right? And I understand. But I guess many people do have short memories, and unfortunately, I still see many investors make investing decisions based off the latest media headlines, okay? Now, I'm guessing that's not you, and that's why you're here with me right now, but I do want to now look at what Westpac's predictions are and really analyze it, and then give you, I guess, as I said, my opinion, whether I think it's right or wrong. So if we look at Westpac's latest dwelling price forecasts, right, and let's just look at 2021, 2022, and 2023. What you can see is that they're expecting some significant price increases in 2021. Now, understand that it's October right now as I record this, and they only came out with these forecasts in October. So a lot of these sort of forecast price growth for 2021, a lot of it's already happened, right? It's not as if Sydney's going to have 27% price increase between now and the end of December, right? What they're saying is by the end of 2021, Sydney on average would have had about 27% price growth for the year, Melbourne 18%, Brisbane 22%, so on and so forth. And look, I think a lot of these figures are pretty accurate because we've seen some significant price rises, and look, prices in general are continuing to rise as well. So I'm happy to sort of give Westpac 2021 price forecast as being accurate. However, then we go to 2022 and it's a big difference. So essentially Sydney goes from 2021 prices having risen by 27% to in 2022 only rising by 6%, and then in 2023 prices actually falling. Right? I mean, Melbourne goes from 18% price growth this year to 8% next year. Brisbane goes from 22% price growth to 10% price growth this year. I mean, essentially, according to Westpac, price growth will halve next year in essentially every single capital city that they've mentioned here. And then prices will fall in 2023. Now, there's two things to really consider here if Westpac's price growth forecasts are to be believed. Number one, if you're looking to buy an investment property, I guess apart from Sydney, according to Westpac's predictions, in every other market, you're almost certainly going to be ahead. Okay, I mean, like, let's look at, for example, Brisbane's price growth, where we are looking at price growth of, say, 10% in 2022, and then prices to drop in 2023 by 1%. So prices rise by 10% and then drop by 1%, you're still ahead by 9%, okay, in just general numbers. Now, with the median price point in Brisbane, especially for houses being around about $700,000, that means that according to Westpac, in the next 2 years from the start of 2022 until the end of 2023, you'll make 9% on that, which is about $63,000 in capital growth. Okay, that's not bad, okay? And essentially every other capital city, you'll also be ahead if you're looking to buy it towards the end of this year or early next year. Okay, so that's the first thing to consider, is that according to Westpac, yep, there's still a lot of price growth to be had if you're looking to buy an investment property. But secondly, and I think this is perhaps the most important one, is that with Westpac being as conservative as they are, and remember I did say they predicted some significant price falls back last year, as did all the lenders, despite property prices being at record highs in almost all cities across Australia, they're not expecting a huge drop in property prices, right? I mean, even if we look at Sydney, where property prices are expected to rise by 6% next year and then drop by 6% in 2023, that essentially means that whatever the median price point ends up at, say at the start of 2022, it's going to essentially be that price back in 2024. Okay, so that means that prices will rise by 6% in 2022, drop back by 6% in 2023, meaning the median price would stay about the same. Now, we know that property prices in Sydney are not cheap, okay? And Westpac, with these conservative scenarios, are really saying that they are not foreseeing any kind of massive drop in property prices now, okay? So they are the two real takeaway messages from Westpac's property price predictions. Now, do I agree with what they have to say? Of course, now you might be thinking, look, Nero, look, you make money from helping people invest in property, so of course you're not going to agree with the fact that, the property market is going to fall. You must be someone who always talks about, property prices rising in value. And look, sure, that's a fair enough comment in that, yes, we do help our clients and members invest in property. That's what our business model is very heavily centered on. And yes, I also predicted that the property boom would begin back in October of last year. And we know that since then, the median price for houses in Australia has risen every month since then. But I'm not someone who always thinks that property prices rise every single month, everywhere, okay? I mean, for example, I was one of the few who came out and predicted that prices in Sydney and Melbourne would drop in 2017. I was one of the few who predicted our biggest downturn that we had between sort of mid-2017 and the end of 2019. And even as early as mid to late 2016, I was out there saying, look, if you're looking to buy a property, especially an apartment in Sydney or Melbourne, the odds are you're going to run into a lot of trouble. Okay, and again, that proved to be correct. So I guess I do have a bit of a track record in predicting not just when property prices are going to rise, but also when property prices are going to fall. In fact, recently I did a live online broadcast where I revealed my secret formula in what I use to predict the future of property prices, and I really just gave away the formula. So to everyone who attended that live broadcast, they understood exactly how I predict the future of property prices, and they can use that same formula to predict the future property prices for themselves, and to then work out, is now a good time to buy, whether they're looking to buy right now or maybe even in 3 years time. All right, so I guess I've got a bit of a track record, and so that's why I think I really want to look at whether, do I agree with what Westpac has to say? In short, my answer is no. All right, but let me give you the reasons why. First of all, we know that interest rates are expected to stay low for quite some time yet. RBA not budging on cash rate until 2024. The article then goes on to say, the Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Philip Lowe is sticking to his long-held view that the cash rate won't be lifted before 2024. As widely anticipated by economists, the RBA left the official cash rate at a record low 0.1% following its monthly board meeting on Tuesday. Dr. Lowe reiterated the cash rate will not be increased until inflation is sustainably within the 2 to 3% target range, saying that such conditions will not be met before 2024. And they've even gone further than that in previous months, saying that curbing house price growth is not the job of the RBA, that should be the government's job. If interest rates are not expected to rise until 2024, and mind you, when they do rise at some point in the future, they're going to be very slow and very, very gradual. But even if and when they do increase, the question is, well, why are property prices going to drop in 2023 if interest rates are going to increase in 2024? Okay, now, first off, we have the new APRA regulations that have come out, which essentially say that, if you're looking to buy a property right now, and let's just say the interest rate is 3%, you need to be able to service that loan or have the income to be able to repay that loan if interest rates went up to 6%. Okay, only then can you get the loan approved. So we've got a 3% buffer here, number one. All right, so if interest rates are not expected to increase until 2024, and everyone whose loans are being approved from now onwards is expected to have the income to be able to repay the loans if interest rates essentially went from 3% to 6%, okay, well then why would property prices drop? I mean, remember, property prices can only drop for essentially two reasons. Number one, existing mortgage holders can no longer afford their mortgage and they need to fire sell. Or number two, there are more properties available for sale than potential buyers. Okay, we know that's not the case at the moment either. Okay, so with interest rates expected to stay low, I see no real impetus for property prices to drop, and even for property price growth to slow as dramatically as what Westpac have to say. Okay, if anything, I really think they're being really conservative because I think property price growth is going to increase because of migration. Now, we know that our international borders or our borders to overseas visitors are being opened up, New South Wales being the first cover off the ranks. And so we know we're going to have a lot of existing Australians from overseas returning, but it's only a short jump towards then having increases in migration, right? Okay, and we know that the New South Wales Premier, at least, is very keen on almost putting turbo thrusters onto migration to rapidly increase migration rates. I mean, check out this article. Planned for 2 million migrant surge, blasted as crazy by Dick Smith. Aussie entrepreneur Dick Smith has labelled a plan to bring in 2 million more migrants post-COVID as crazy. All right, now, I'm not sure how much sway Dick Smith has over the government. His opinion might be great for the media, but I'm not going to say that he's the right person to be listening to in terms of what you think property prices are going to do. Okay, I really want to see what the government has to say. And so if you look at this article, it goes on to say that New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet says he believes in a big New South Wales after a leaked proposal to bring in 2 million more migrants to rebuild Australia post-COVID was lashed as crazy by entrepreneur Dick Smith. The Australian Financial Review on Tuesday revealed that top New South Wales bureaucrats had urged the incoming Premier to push for an explosive post-World War II style immigration surge that could bring in 2 million people over 5 years. Now, whatever the numbers end up as, whatever the actual number of migrants ends up as, the key thing is that I expect that migration is going to rapidly increase, bringing a huge surge in demand for property when we already have significant supply shortages. I mean, right now, the number of properties available for sale isn't enough to meet the demand of all the Australians, all the people living in Australia who are looking for property. And now you're going to have this huge surge of demand coming from overseas, many of them being good income earners, many of them bringing money from overseas. That's going to only put more pressure rather on property prices. It's going to stress our supply shortages even more. And I think that's only going to further fuel property prices to keep growing for some time yet. So with interest rates expected to stay low for quite some time yet, with significant demand coming from overseas as a result of migration. And thirdly, the other factor that I didn't mention is the fact that with the economy opening up, consumer sentiment improving, with the fact that consumer confidence is improving, that's also going to encourage more people to start looking at property either from an investment perspective or to just buy their own home and upgrade their own home. That's going to put more pressure on property prices. So with all these factors continuing to put pressure onto the property market, in terms of, when I say talk pressure, I'm talking about upwards pressure on property prices, okay? The question is then, are these growth rates by Westpac, how can they be correct? I think they're going to be very, very conservative. I think they're going to be disproven. I think, yes, property prices will rise in 2022. I think they're going to rise a lot more than that, in my opinion. I think they're going to rise a lot more than what Westpac have said. I don't think they're going to fall in 2023 at all. I think this price boom has a lot longer to run, at the very least until 2024. Now, of course, so yes, you are going to have to do your due diligence. There are some areas that are not going to perform very well, while others will outperform them. So you really want to look at the key factors such as supply and demand, in good infrastructure in investment, low vacancy rates as well, right? You want to look at the key capital growth factors, the factors that really give you a good chance for capital growth. But from my perspective, if you are willing to do your due diligence, do your research, I believe that you're going to see some significant capital growth over the next 12 and 24 months. And so if you're someone who's maybe sat out the market and been unsure if now is a good time or not to buy, yes, you've missed out on 2021's capital growth. But I think 2022 has also had some significant capital growth coming as well, and even into 2023. And so do your due diligence, take advantage of the opportunities in front of you. And as I said, I think there's a good chunk of capital growth coming your way yet. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you found this video valuable and you're thinking you might like my help to help you find an investment property, then head on over to nerocall.com to discover our unique 5-step process that's helped my private client group purchase now well over $66.2 million worth of property. And then if you like what you see, you can book in for a half-hour phone consult with me personally. Either way, thanks again for watching.